Good morning, everybody. I've titled my little slice of today's presentation, Tweetin' in the Classroom, and I would sing that to the tune of Smoking in the Boys' Room, but you really don't want to hear me singing here. So I want to talk today about how I have used Twitter in the classroom and in conferences, and what are some of the advantages and disadvantages to using it. Let me stop for a second. How many of you, besides Chris, have ever used Twitter for any reason? Okay, and how many of you have heard about Twitter? Okay, so everybody at least has heard about it. You know it's 140 characters at a time. And I'm doing something different in my classes. I'm encouraging my students to use Twitter during some class times. So let me talk about the advantages and disadvantages of Twitter in the classroom. And I have a couple of pictures here. These are the woots, and in internet speak, woot is what you say if you're really happy, excited about something. So those are the advantages. And then we have the disadvantages, maybe not so much. So I had asked some of my students to pose for a picture, and you can just leave it out there. So here are some of the woots. These are some of the advantages. And to let you know, I have blogged about this already, so all of my notes are already out online, and I'll give you a sticker to put in your book with the address of where to find all the notes. So some of the woots. When you're having students tweet during class time, especially in large classes, it can help create community. What's the biggest class that you teach, number-wise? 250. That's giant. And in a 250-person class, I know in my 100-people classes, I have a hard time making connections between me and the people in there. It's just kind of a mass of faces unless they come and see me during class or outside of class time. So I use it as a way of getting feedback during class time about what's going on. I have them answer questions via Twitter, actually during the actual class, where I'm not going to read all of the responses back to everybody, but they're captured for everybody to see. And that really helps out those shyer people who are in the class that don't want to raise their hand from the 47th row and have you try to hear what they say. Everybody's voice is equally as loud when they use Twitter. So it helps create community. Another woot is that it allows me to bring in instant guest speakers into my classes. There'll be times that I'll say, at 1 o'clock this afternoon, I'm going to be talking about pitching stories to the media. Could I get a couple of people to chime in at that time about what you do that works, what doesn't work? And you know, as educators, people always believe the guest speakers a little bit more than they believe the faculty member who's standing up there. So it's a way to bring in outside people at absolutely no cost to the university and just a couple of minutes of the other person's time. So those are two of the woots. Two of the mehs are, one of them, it's one more thing. It's one more thing that the students have to sign up for and pay attention to, whether it's in class or out of class. They all use Facebook already. Some of them use other sites. And for some of them, this is like, why do I need to do this? Why can't we just use something I'm already using? So it's seen as just one more thing. Another meh is the instant distraction in the classes. Because for some students, having that electronic gadget in front of them encourages them to do other things than focus on the class. I'm trying to get them to use Twitter for positive reasons, not for evil reasons. But some of them will get a text message from a friend, read that, respond to that. And as an educator, I really can't tell sometimes if they're responding to me or if they're doing it to somebody else. So two woots, two mess, and then we have some that are the woot and the mess. So some of these are advantages and disadvantages at the same time. One thing that could be an advantage or a disadvantage is it gives you a peek into our lives. And by a peek into our lives, I mean a peek in students can see my life as much as I wish to share, and I can see into their lives. I find out things about my students that I can weave into conversations in classes, and I love being able to do that, so that's positive. On the negative side, we just had spring break, and I learned way more about my students' extracurricular activities than I really wanted to know. And I'm myself on Twitter. If you find me at 10 o'clock at night on Twitter, I am me. I mean, it's what you would find if you saw me out in public at 10 o'clock at night. So I'm talking about things that are interesting to me. Now, my students have found out that I'm a NASCAR fan. So some of them know that that's a way that they can make the connection back with me. So it's a peek into our lives, both positive and negative. Another is it helps you increase participation in class. Some classes, it's like pulling teeth trying to get them to say anything. So this is a way of letting, again, those shyer students say something without having to say something out loud. As a disadvantage, you can have people dominate the Twitter conversation, just like they can dominate the classroom conversation, and send 15 messages in a row so that no one else's are seen. And then the last one is it allows instant access to the professor. So as an educator, I don't give them my cell phone number. I do have them connect with me on Twitter. They know they can send me what's called a direct message, which is a way of sending a message just to me that no one else sees. And if I'm awake and alert and in the mood to send a message back at 11:30 at night, I sometimes do. But since I sometimes do, they think I should always respond immediately. So again, that's a positive and a negative. So again, advantages and disadvantages. I'd like to take just a couple of minutes and quickly go through 11 things that instructors can do to make Twitter work in classes. And this is really going to be just a quick laundry list, and then you can see me afterwards if you have specific questions. Number one, provide an assignment, like a 1 week of Twitter assignment, so that they immerse themselves in Twitter and aren't just left with, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. On my blog, I have a link to an assignment that I call 1 week of Twitter. Number two, create a Twitter list for the class. A Twitter list has a list of everybody's Twitter IDs, so they can find each other quickly and follow each other on Twitter quickly. Number three, set up specific expectations. Maybe you allow Twitter during some classes, but not others. Maybe you allow it during all classes except during tests. Maybe you only do it twice during the entire semester, but just let them know so there's not confusion. Number four, create Twitter breaks during class. I used to do something like this called think, pair, and share. Well, I do that now with Twitter. I'll say stop for just a moment, what I'm doing, and jot down a couple of thoughts about what we've just discussed, and then share it with the person next to you. But now they're sharing it electronically rather than voice to voice. Number five, monitor after the class. See what people have been writing about during class time. If people are way off track, you may want to reinforce your expectations during the next class. Number six, be considerate of those people that don't have the technology available during class time. So maybe they don't have an internet plan on their phone, or maybe they don't have a laptop computer. Not everybody has the advantages of doing that. Then encourage them to take notes in 140 characters and go to the computer lab or the library after class and tweet their thoughts then, so that everybody's still included, it's just with a little time shift. Number seven, use a class hashtag, and a hashtag is the # followed by a couple of letters. So for our conference here, it's hashtag #listen10. And then if you want to see everything that people have tweeted about during this conference, you can just click on listen 10 and the whole list pops up. Number eight, use a site called What the Hashtag. And that's a way of creating almost like a script, or I guess script is the best word for it, for everything that's gone on with that hashtag in the past, however many days you tell it to. So we could possibly go and see what happened at NCA 09 now, even though that was several months ago. Number nine, encourage your students to share links to interesting information during class or after class. Number 10, ask pros in the field to chime in. And number 11, instead of a class period or two, if you're in a field where there is a scheduled Twitter chat, like there is in public relations, there are probably 15 different ones. There's one called PR Student Chat, and they'll usually have 2 or 3 PR pros there to answer questions. PR students from all over the world are there, about 150, 200 participate at once. So maybe do that instead of a regular class time. So that said, today we talked about some of the advantages and disadvantages, or woots and meh, about using Twitter, and I provided some tips. If you want more information on this or want to see some visuals to go along with it, they're out at my blog, publicrelationsmatters.com. Thank you very much.